So I'm Nicola, and I lived in Guatemala for 2 years. So I went out in 2013, and I was out there working with a student, Christian student group, and I was doing a similar job to what I've done here in discipling and mentoring and students, and then doing events for outreach, but also for discipleship as well. When I was 18, my mum suggested that I did a short-term mission trip. So I went out to Peru for 7 weeks with a team, and we worked with a church out there, and I loved it. It was so interesting and incredible to see the church and life in a different place, in a different culture, but also that God is exactly the same. So I kind of had a heart for it. I then did uni and was thinking about doing another one. So I did 3 weeks in Guatemala, and had just had this in the back of my mind, the feeling that God was saying, you need to go to Guatemala, which wasn't a random place because I was going for 3 weeks. Got back from Guatemala and emailed the team out there and said, I think I need to come back out for longer. And so within the year, I was back out in Guatemala, but was going for 2 years, not with a team, working. And so that's how I got involved in the student group movement. Actually, I said, I'll definitely do 1 year and kind of 15 months, and then decide whether I wanted to do another year after that. I can't say I'm ever a long-term focused person. So I was just like, whatever God calls me to, that's okay. But yeah, I went out there with 1 year and then made the decision to stay for another year. I just felt that there was things that God still wanted me to do. I was kind of on the start of things and wanted to continue it for another year. I remember clearly sitting in my room in Guatemala thinking, God, why am I here? I think I'd been there for a few months, had been at work and just thinking, God, what am I doing? Like, I don't really feel like I'm making a difference. And I just had the verse from 1 Corinthians 13 where it talks about like loving people. And like the best thing is love. I think it's 1 Corinthians 13. And that was what God was calling me to do. He was just calling me to love the people in front of me. It felt so simple and so small, but actually he was just saying, Nicola, love the people that are in front of you. I stayed for the extra year because I just felt God was saying, you're at the beginning of relationships and investing in people, and actually there's more love that I want you to give these people. Where some of the other staff workers had crazy schedules and lots of other things to do, I was purely there to work with these students and this organization. So I had the time to be able to just be friends with people, to spend time with them, to listen to them, to pray with them. I suddenly was opened up to a completely different way of life, and life in Guatemala is completely different to the UK. The struggles, the difficulties are different, and they're at different scales. And for me, I got to see life and God and his call and following Jesus from just a completely different angle and a different lifestyle and a different way of thinking. And I saw the beauty and the richness in that, but also it opened me up to the brokenness in the world of it. The politics in Guatemala are very broken, and just seeing how they interacted with these things as Christians and seeing that and kind of the prayer into that was just, it kind of made me think, actually, yeah, I need to be more involved in these things and aware of these things. It's the beauty of encountering people and seeing things from their lives and really seeing it, not just a quick 2-week stint, but really living with them and learning from them and growing with them, and just also knowing that it's all with one God. We're not worshipping 2 different gods, it's one God, and we're unified by that. If us in High Wycombe as Kings are involved, even if we're not physically the people that are going to overseas mission, but we're involved in overseas mission with other people going, then we are more aware just generally of the global church instead of just focusing on High Wycombe. There's just such an incredibleness of the globalness of the church. I remember being in a conference for Latin Link, which was the organisation that I went out broadly, and there were people from the UK all across Latin America and Holland, but we sung songs in the 4 different languages, in English, Dutch, Spanish and Brazilian, all at the same time. And it was just this beautiful picture of what heaven will be like when every tribe and every tongue join together to praise God. the global church coming together and worshipping our glorious God all at the same time, but all in our own ways.